Hi guys, it seems the Tories have learned nothing from the last 15 years, 14 of which, of course, they were in power. Austerity doesn't work. Cutting public services isn't just bad for people, it's bad for the party in power. Running the NHS, education, crime and justice into the ground through cuts and a lack of investment resulted in many people delivering the government a bloody nose on Brexit Day. But Andrew Griffith, the Tory MP, has a message for the country. More cuts are needed. So he spoke to Peter McCormack on his podcast, where he tried to sell the idea of a small government. Have a listen.
Look, there is a significant amount that we need to reform the way that government operates, right? So you've got to have a directional view about how much, the government can simply afford. And there will always be more demands on government, just as there are if you're a finance director, right? You've got the sales guys want money and the advertising, and the product guys have got any product. There's always money. There's always more demands. But you learn to say no. And you've got to be, we need that the next generation of politicians will have to be steely, because we've been paying ourselves more than we can afford. And so you've got to learn to say no. You've got to have boundaries, and you can't expect the state to do everything.
Oh God, okay. The population is increasing. The population is also getting older. So of course there's going to be more demand on public services. That's a natural cycle that's the natural cycle. The population gets older, the population gets bigger, so there's more demand for public services. Housing, infrastructure, the NHS, justice, social care, all of these things are in greater demand. So the Tory response to this is austerity, because he's not saying the word austerity, but that's what he's selling. We need to have a smaller government. We need to cut. Government ministers or the Prime Minister or the Treasury have to be able to say, no, we're not going to spend more. Then what are you going to have? You're going to have decline. You have to invest. This is why the economy is stagnating. This is why it's been stagnating over the last number of years. Go all the way back to 2008. The UK economy has not really grown. It's been up and down a little bit, but it hasn't truly grown. Brexit was extremely damaging, but a lack of investment over the last 20 odd years is the real problem here. So governments are not investing, so they're not seeing a return on that investment. For every pound that you put in, you get £3 back. When the government invests money, they get a massive return. But the Tories don't want to do that. They want to give money to their friends and donors, but they don't want to see massive investment, because if there is massive investment, the economy does better, ordinary people do better, but they don't want that. Honestly, they would prefer to cut public services because they hate the idea of the poor, the disabled, working class people being better off. Because working class people, the disabled and the poor generally don't vote for the Conservative Party. So they're not interested in improving their lives. But if they did, they would actually see a better economy for all. So the approach now, it seems to me, is let's go back to the last 14 years. Let's go back to cutting public services. Let's go back to selling people the idea of a small government. Low regulations, low taxes. But that only suits a small group of people, the richest in society. It doesn't serve everyone. And if this is the plan for the Conservatives going forward, well then they're not going to get back into power. And if they do, well, they'll lose just like they did before. People have to be awake to these things. This Conservative Party is not interested in ordinary people. It never has, and it never will be. And that's why people should vote against them. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.